It's time for the Brouhaha Sports Show. Brouhaha Sports with award-winning sports writer Dale McKee and co-host Marshall Wood. Talking sports with the legends of the game and famous sports personalities. Brouhaha. Now to Marshall and Dale with tonight's guest.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Brouhaha. Dale McKee sitting here looking at me, Marshall Wood. How you doing, Dale?
I'm doing good.
Boy, you got a beautiful view, don't you?
I do.
Man. Well, I got a nice view, too. I'm looking out the window. No, we good. Everything's been going well. Man, there's so much stuff going on in sports, son. It's just madness, mayhem, wildness. But you know one thing we got? One constant. The sideline view. Baby.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the weather.
Well, it's tough.
Yeah.
The weather is tough. I'm glad I'm not playing outside. I've been wrapping up pipes and losing telephones and throwing fits and everything else I can imagine. You having any fun?
No, I just like looking at pictures of the snow other people are having to deal with.
Yeah. It's wintertime. It's wintertime. Basketball playing around the state. Ole Miss must have a pretty good basketball team, don't they? Have they only lost one game or something like that?
Yeah, but you know what? They haven't had that challenge of a schedule, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know, they played two of the lower tier SEC teams in Florida and Vanderbilt. You know, in their non-conference schedule, I don't know. You know, I know they beat a pretty good Memphis team.
Yeah, well, Memphis usually historically is good. Vanderbilt used to have some really good basketball teams.
Yeah, but I think this NIL has hurt them to a thing because their coach even said after their loss to Ole Miss the other day, it's hard for us to get transfers into Vanderbilt.
It's hard to get transfers that can meet
the school
academic requirements.
Yeah. And so you know that's an issue. Now they might get them as if they're a graduate student or something.
Yeah.
But so you know, so they're working against that, being an academic private school like that.
Yeah, man. Mississippi State, they upset a number 5 team, Tennessee, according to your. Is that women's or men's?
Men's.
Yeah. So Ole Miss, Mississippi State both playing well, and then you got Southern Mississippi down there. You know, they started out slow with the coach. We interviewed him a couple of years ago. Had a big year. How they looking so far this year?
Well, they're about 500 right now, and they've got you know, they're going to hold their own in the Sun Belt. They've had a couple, you know, maybe subpar road games against one team was Georgia Southern, who really wasn't that good, and then they lost to probably the best team in the conference this year in Troy.
Yeah.
And the other day they got beat by them last Saturday, but they host Troy this Saturday, so that'll be a good ball game.
You know, I'm familiar with Troy. Of course, now that we're in the same, Southern's in the same conference. Troy's had some pretty good football teams, and I don't know historically. You could probably bring me up to speed on that. They seem to be a pretty sound school athletically on all fronts.
I think they're really good in all three of the major sports, as we call it: baseball and basketball, men's basketball, and football. They're holding their own. You know, they're probably they're probably a little bit better right this year in all the sports than Southern Miss was.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. I do like the conference a lot. I hadn't got a grasp on how strong. I know it's a pretty strong football conference from top to finish. Where would you say Troy ranks in that conference about now? Middle of the road, top of the road?
I think they're one of the top tier teams in football. You know, I'd say I would say they're probably in the top 4.
Right. Okay. Good athletic program.
Yeah.
Anything else that's burning in your mind to share with our listening public before we get to tonight's guest and talk about who that is?
Well, we've got a great, I call him a legendary figure in Mississippi high school football, Bobby Hall. He's won quite a few state championships in his day, and he's probably brought along a lot of great assistant coaches who went on to become really, really good high school coaches. So he's kind of mentored those guys. But, he's just fascinating to listen to.
Yeah.
And we're going to let him talk about all the coaching changes in the sports world last year, from Pete Carroll to Nick Saban to Belichick and just see what he says about all of those.
It'll be fun.
It should be interesting.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's do, Dale. Given that we have Bobby with us and he's ready to get going, I'm sure. Let's take a break to hear from our sponsors, and then Dale and I'll be back with tonight's guest, Bobby Hall, right after this commercial break.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome to the show, Bobby Hall. How's everything going, Coach Hall?
I'm doing good, Dale. How are you doing today? It's cold up here in Madison, Mississippi today.
Hey, well, it seems to be a little chilly everywhere. It's supposed to get a little bit more chilly about Wednesday, too, isn't it?
Oh, it's going to get cold. We're going to get real cold, weather that we're not used to in the Deep South.
Amen.
You got that right. Hey, listen, let's just talk about some interesting things that happened last week, okay? And you just go where you want to go with us. Tell us about what you think. What happened in Alabama?
Okay, I was surprised. I kind of thought he might coach till he got so old they had to just run him off or die or whatever. I just didn't think, that he would retire, and so I was somewhat caught off guard by that. You think about this. I was talking to somebody about it the other day. When I say we, Dale, me and you have, I'm 68 years old. We've lived to see, arguably, and I'm not saying they are, but I'm saying they're in the conversation, the two greatest college football coaches of our time, and both of them coached at the University of Alabama.
That's quite a feat.
Yeah.
Quite a feat.
Yeah, so if there's somebody better than them, then, I guess you show me their resume, I guess. I don't know anybody that, and I don't know really, I don't think there is a true definition of a great coach. I think to qualify, you have to win a lot of games and championships, but it's a wide open thing. I thought old Bill Snyder at Kansas State was a truly great college football coach because of the level that he won at the place where he was. Yeah.
That's true. He was at Kansas State.
It's a little bit easier to win at Alabama and Tuscaloosa than it is in Manhattan, Kansas.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. But you go back to talking about the Bear Bryant days, and of course now I was a big fan of Gene Stallings too when he was at Alabama. But Paul Bear Bryant, the more you read about that man, the more you have to admire him because he helped integrate the South more than probably any coach in the game at that time, because you did have coaches at Penn State and Ohio State and Michigan and USC and Texas and places like that. But Bear Bryant was right in the middle of the integration issue. And
that was a very, very difficult time.
Yeah, and he seemed to adapt.
For everyone in this part of the country that we all live in. Very pretentious time, it really was. So he went through that as well. But I just thought, I've studied him significantly when I was young. And, he came up from extremely humble beginnings. Nick Saban came up from humble beginnings as well. I don't think quite as humble as Bear, but from humble beginnings. He worked in a service station. I can relate to that. So, but it's I just found it very unique that we lived in a time to see the two greatest, of all time.
Well, that's a good point. Hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, they were truly outstanding. The more you hear about Nick Saban on some of these, especially podcasts that are coming out of Alabama, I got tickled. They were asking one of the Alabama players some personal stuff about Nick, like what, and some of the answers were very funny at the time. They asked him, said, what do you think? What band do you think he's heard more playing than any band? And the answer was supposed to be the Eagle Band, the Eagles. He's a big fan of the Eagles, but the football player, he said, $1 Million Band. I thought that was a great answer, and they said, yeah, he might have heard them more than the Eagles. And then they asked him, what kind of job did he have in college when he was playing football? And the guy said, well, I don't even know where he played football. And they said, well, he played at Kent State. And he said, they were allowed to have jobs back in that day and time? And he said, yeah, during the summer, what kind of job did he have? And the answer was, he drove a Coke truck. And so you're talking about him coming from humble beginnings, but he learned a lot about work ethic along the way from his dad, and I'm sure.
Oh, no doubt. His dad was obviously a very, very positive influence on him from the standpoint of discipline and doing things, and respect for authority, and all those great lessons that the great game of football teaches.
Well, listen. Okay, now he's okay. Now we got a new coach coming into Alabama, the Washington coach.
We did. A really good ball coach.
Yeah.
As good as there is out there, and they went after the best. Nobody ever knows whether or not he was their first choice, and it don't really matter because he is now the man.
Well, let me ask you something. How? People would think, well, Alabama wants me to come coach, man. I mean, that's the ultimate. But, not everybody else can be prepared for the Alabama job. The Alabama job's probably, I would say maybe right behind the Dallas Cowboys job. I'm not sure in America, as far as the college game has got to be. It is. But with that, Dale, what you said is 100% true. But with that, you're going to have all the resources known to man that you can have to help you have an opportunity to be successful.
I want to ask you a question, Coach, and it might be a little different off base here, but I was watching Washington play before I ever knew anything about DeBoer and all this coming down here, and I looked at his offensive line, and I compared his offensive line to Alabama's. Alabama's got those guys at 6'6", 6'8", 350, 360. His offensive linemen are about 6'6", 6'8", but they weigh about 300. They're very athletic looking, not knocking Alabama's. But how's he going to mesh? How will his system, I mean, was he going to rewrite everything, or what do you think he's going to do? He recruits a different type of player. How's that going to work?
I would say this. I would answer that this way. If you research Kellen DeBoer, you'll see that he has won at every level he coached. He coached at an NAIA school, and him and his staff and the wives fixed sandwiches that morning before they got on the bus, so they'd have them to feed them pregame meal before they got to the game. That's kind of the background he came from.
Yes.
He's won at every level he's been. And then he went to 2 years ago. Washington State was 4-8. They were 4-8. Then they did whatever they did last year, and then propelled that into this year. So he's a really, really good football coach. He's got a very, very difficult assignment simply because he's following Nick Saban. But still, man, if you're going to be a college football coach, and that somebody from Alabama knocks on that door, no's not an answer.
Well, I'm excited about it. I'm pulling for him. I want him to do well. I can't wait to see how it all transpires. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, now,
he's going to do well. I hope he does well enough to keep those people happy, because what Nick has done is hard to follow. But if anybody can do it, he can. And it can be done. So, we'll see.
Well, Coach, talking about that, how difficult? Okay, now he's got a staff in Washington that he's kind of leaving, and then he's he's got to mesh his staff down here. And I've heard that he's probably got the offensive side pretty well intact as far as he's bringing his OC in. He's going to bring his wide receiver in. I think he's going to keep the running back coach, little Gillespie boy from Hattiesburg. I think he's going to keep him, and he's going to keep the D-line coach Roach. But anyway, I'm hearing that that the DC job is kind of wide open because they had a guy, T-Rod, they call him, Robinson, Tavarius Robinson, and he was going to go, and I think he's decided to go to Georgia as of a couple hours ago. Of course, that could change too, but I'm hearing an interesting name out of Mobile, that Kane Womack may go as DC up there. Have you heard that?
That would not shock me. That would not shock me. You know Kane's background, and he's been to South Al for 3 years now. Yeah, I guess he went there same time we went to Southern, and so that would not shock me at all. Well, he'll make way more money.
Yeah. Well, they worked together.
I mean, like double his salary, maybe even more than double it.
Yeah. Well, he seemed like to be doing a really good job at South Alabama, especially.
He's done a good job. He's done a good job as a coordinator where he's been. I mean, my God, he was the coordinator at Indiana when they the year they played Ole Miss in that bowl game. They won 10 games, I think.
Yeah.
That's hard to do at Indiana, guys.
Yeah, well, he was on staff up there with DeBoer at Indiana. DeBoer was the offensive coordinator at that time, supposedly.
That's right. Michael Penix Jr. was the quarterback.
Yeah, and stuff like that.
One reason they won. That's 3 reasons they won 10 games.
Yeah.
3 for 10, baby.
Yeah, can't beat that.
Yeah.
All right, well, give us your take on Belichick. Time for him to go?
I don't think so if he still wants to coach. My biggest concern is I was told he was the general manager too. Now, I've not talked to Bill and asked him that question. Y'all know more about it than I do. But if he was the GM, then he was the one that was getting their players. And they ain't got good enough players right now. Not by a long shot. They had nobody make All-Pro. They hadn't had but 2 All-Pro players in like 5 years or something like that. One of them was a long snapper and one of them was a punter. So, man, they don't have good enough players.
Yeah.
And, man, let me tell you what Vince Lombardi said back in the 60s. Vince Lombardi was my only football hero. I've read everything I could about him that I could get my hands on. He said, and this was in the 60s now, and you young guys listening today don't know who Vince Lombardi is. Y'all Google him. They named the trophy after him. He said the only thing I don't like about football is the quarterback is too important to the success of a team. Well, that was in the 60s. All right, you look right now, just off the top of your head, think about the best NFL teams, just say the top 4 or 5. Then go from that straight to the best NCAA teams. And how are they at quarterback? Every one of them's got a good one.
I was watching some coach talk about 4 or 5 years ago on I don't know what channel it was on, but they had Nick Saban on there. They had Mullins on there. They had a bunch of them on there. They were going through, and the interview said, "Who is the most important player on the team other than the quarterback?" And everybody was going and giving somebody. They got to Nick, and he said the quarterback. He said, "No, we can't do that. We're not talking." He said, "It's unequivocally." The quarterback is the most important player on the team, no matter what. That's what Nick said. That's kind of going along with what you said, Bob.
Yeah. It's just the way the game is played now. I don't know how you can be successful without one. I mean, I don't know how to do it. And I used to think I could coach, but I mean, I don't know. Now, you might get away with it in a high school or something where you run the wing tee or something like that and not have to throw the ball or something, but you're not going to get away with that in college because you'll just get bloodied up every time you snap that thing.
Well, is that true in the pros? Do you watch a lot of the Saints, Coach, play, the New Orleans Saints?
I watch the Saints. I watch the Saints every snap of every season, except I'm not going to be a hypocrite. Sometimes they're so painful to watch. I don't watch them. I just keep them.
I feel your pain.
Yeah, we feel your pain.
They are. Man, sometimes this year they were so painful. I said, man, I can't do this. I'm gonna keep up with them on my phone.
Is it really Derek Carr? Because they seem to not have any deep threats at receiver. I may be wrong, you know.
I don't. No. I'm not going to put him at total fault here. I don't. They were playing good at the end of the year, and if they could have got in, you know, I always believe if you can just get in a tournament, man, you never know what'll happen.
That's true.
And if they could have got in, they could have made some noise, you know, like maybe Green Bay did. I thought they was playing good at the end of the year. I think they need to plug in a few more pieces here and there, and I think they'll have a chance to be pretty good next year. I really do.
Coach, I want to go back to what happened, I guess it was the last game, where they were down there on the end zone, down there lined up, and they changed the play. How would you, as head coach of F, what do you think about that? The way that
who are we talking about?
We're talking about the Saints. When they went down there and they intercepted the ball and they were ahead, had a big lead, and the coach said, take a knee, victory formation. They got in the victory formation, and Jameis Winston asked the team in the huddle, y'all want to change the play, let this guy score. And they did. And they scored.
Man, I'm going to be honest with you. Here's how I feel about that. You know, probably Jesus would have probably liked it if you kneeled on it. Okay?
Yes, sir.
But, man, that was the Falcons. It's all right to score nothing on them.
I always say, if you don't want me to score, make me quit.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's the Falcons. I mean, it is what it is. I hate it for them, but it's the Falcons.
Yeah, that's right, that dirty bird.
Anybody else in the league kind of can argue with it.
Point well made, Coach. I'm all in.
Hey, Coach, now listen, I've heard this story before. Have you ever tried to run the score up on somebody in high school football when you were coaching?
No, I have not tried to run the score up. I tried to score a touchdown.
Okay.
One time at the end of the game when we were ahead 13 points, but to me, that's not running the score up. If that's running it up, then I'm guilty.
But you owed that guy. You owed that guy, didn't you?
I had a debt to pay.
You had a debt to pay. I got you.
I had a debt to pay.
I got you.
I done wrote that check and I had to sign it.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. Hey, and everything. All right. What's your thoughts on the? Well, let's get back to the Cowboys and the Packers. You know, we got a lot of Cowboy fans around this part of the country too.
Yeah. Let me interrupt you. If you're a Saints fan, it's un-American to pull for the Cowboys.
Well, I understand that, but it's really, really hard when you're a Saints fan not to find somebody else to pull for.
Yeah, well, you just have to suffer through it, man.
Yeah.
I hope we're going to be good next year.
Well, you know, I grew up.
I was so disappointed in the performance of the Cowboys. I thought I didn't think they played with any passion. I thought they came out there, they almost looked disinterested. Just real disappointed in the way they played, man. I really was. And then on the other side, extremely impressed with the Packers and the way they executed and played. I mean, come on, guys, that was a major league butt whipping.
Yeah.
I mean, it really was. And
I'm talking about, it wasn't no middle school either. It was a major league. 48-16 with 7 minutes to go.
Whew. And he was taking players out of the game to rest them. The Packers coach was.
I mean, it was just a butt whipping. I mean, you any way you want to figure it.
And everything.
I've had a few of those myself. Not as a football coach, though.
Okay.
Yeah, they're playing the best team, one of the two best teams in the NFL next week. I don't think they'll beat them, but I think they're a very dangerous team right now.
Well, I'm just so impressed with some of these young quarterbacks coming out of college. Like even Love, I know he's been around a couple years, but he just looked so comfortable yesterday, especially in the pocket. And then the boy for Houston on Saturday night.
He's so good.
Yeah,
understand now, he's a rookie.
Yeah.
That's a little bit different than Love. Now, I thought Love yesterday made all the Packer fans forget about Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre.
Yeah, he probably did because they've got a good future. The Packers.
Jeez, man, he looked good. But that daggone C.J. Stroud, I mean, I just don't, unless I'm forgetting something, I don't remember a rookie playing like he's playing right now.
I don't either, unless, I'm not sure when Dan Marino really got in the lineup back in the day. I know
Me either. That was a long time ago.
But he's the only one I can remember, that really,
I think Peyton started his rookie year, and I think he might have led the league in interceptions or something.
Yeah.
He wasn't very good.
Yeah.
And now he's a Hall of Famer.
But I noticed Stroud, was it last year against Georgia? He had such a phenomenal game in the semifinals. But before the finals, I mean, he looked great. That's really the first coming out party that I'd seen about him, and I was really impressed with him that night. Well, what's your thoughts on Pete Carroll? A lot of us don't know about Pete Carroll, but he's been around. He was on Lou Holtz's staff at Arkansas, and he was at USC during their great run in the early 2000s, and of course, he's had a phenomenal run at Seattle.
Yeah, he is on the borderline of getting that thing up there like when you start talking about dynasties when he was at USC, and then Texas stole that game from him that night right at the end, when they had that great team with that great quarterback they had and all that. So, but Pete Carroll, great football coach, stood the test of time. What is he, 72 years old now?
Yeah.
Great football coach, won one Super Bowl. Should have won two. They threw that ball.
Oh, my goodness.
Man, I want to say, man, I want to tell every young coach alive, don't do that. Don't do that. All that is cute. That cost you a world championship.
Man.
Holy smoke.
Man, that was such a
great coach, and I really found it ironic. Within 48 hours, we lost three great coaches for one reason or another. Either retiring or getting moved on or whatever. Three great coaches.
Well, Bobby, one thing about it, that's one thing that marches on, and it's time. And unfortunately, we're at the end of our time tonight for our show. Dale and
I've certainly enjoyed it.
Man, we enjoy you. We thank you for taking time to visit with us. You're a Mississippi treasure, brother, and we appreciate you. I'm going to ask you to hold on for just a minute.
Okay.
Dale, you know what time it is, don't you?
Is it that time already?
Yes, sir. It's time to say goodbye, Dale.
Goodbye, Dale.
Goodbye, and we'll see you next week for more of the Brouhaha. Get us out of here, Jamie.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
You've been listening to the Brouhaha with Dale McKee and Marshall Wood. Heard Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. on WABO. For more of the Brouhaha, follow us during the week on Facebook and WABO.